Hello and welcome to this video. In this video I'll show you how to add animations, transitions, pseudo-elements and pseudo-classes to a web page in CSS. It might sound quite confusing, but basically what it means is changing properties over time for animations and transitions, and adding elements that you haven't literally put in the web page. So that could be the scroll bar that appears down the side of a web page, the text you select. You'll see what I mean when I get to it later on. I'm using Google Chrome today because not every browser supports all of these pseudo-elements. So if your browser doesn't seem to support them, it's probably not you didn't do anything wrong, but probably the browser doesn't support them. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, please watch them so you know the basics of HTML and CSS, and I am going to start. CSS, animations, transitions, pseudo-elements, and pseudo-classes. And I'm going to try not to misspell it like I did last time. Last time I called it CSS potions rather than CSS positions. There, and I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to put in header. I'm using Emmet, so code that I'll probably show you in the future, to add this, and it just makes it much quicker, like this. I'm going to add 5 paragraphs, each with 50 words of lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum is often used by developers. It's some Latin text, and it's used because it's not under copyright, and you can use it to add text to a web page without actually having to write lots of text. So at the moment we've got this. I'm going to add a couple of more paragraphs. There. Paragraphs times 2 to give each of them with lorem 100. Those are just going to be some longer paragraphs. There. So you should see some 2 longer paragraphs down the bottom. So at the moment you've not got anything on the page. So let's start adding the CSS. Pseudo-elements. These are elements that you don't specify in the HTML, like paragraph here, H2 or an H1 headers there, but they still exist. For example, I'm creating a pseudo-element when I select some text. This text can be styled with CSS. This scroll bar can also be styled with CSS, but I'm going to start with the selected text. So if you add a style element in your head, the head is what it doesn't appear on the page, and you put paragraph, colon, colon, because this is how you define pseudo-elements, selection. There. So nothing happens at the moment, but that will style this text that currently has the blue background. So I'm going to change that background color to navy. So you should see now when I do this, turn navy. But you can also change the text color just using color. Remember the American spelling. I'm going to change it to gold. There, navy and gold. But if you try to select headers, nothing will have changed because you see it's paragraph selection. I can change this to H1 to make it only work with the headers, like that, or H2 to make it only work with the smaller subheadings. There. But I'm going to keep it on the paragraph. So the next pseudo element we're going to learn is first line. I'm going to use paragraph again and write first line. That is the first top line of text in each of the paragraphs because it's got P. I'm going to make that have a color of navy, like that, there. And I'm going to make it have a font size that's slightly larger than the others. I can use percentages where 100% is the default one, 120%. And you'll see that the text is larger. If I resize the window, you'll be able to see that all of the text that goes to the top line changes styles when I move it. And that's what I like about first line. You can even use the first letter as well. So I can put paragraph here, paragraph, first letter. And I can change that maybe color being gold, font size, maybe make that much larger, like 200%. And you can see the first letter of each of the paragraphs is much larger and gold. But there are more than just this you can do to paragraphs. You can add elements before and after every single paragraph using CSS. It's paragraph before. So say for some reason I want to add a square before every single paragraph. I can put background color navy, because I'm going to make it a navy square, and I can use width and height of both 1 EM. EM is the height of a letter. There. I can add a margin of 0.1 EM and make both of these 0.8 EM. But you'll see they haven't actually gone there. If I save and reload, you can't see that element. That's because before and after both need a content property. That's what text you want to be in it. So if I add color white and I put font size 0.6 EM, it will fit in there. I can put the content of a character, so it could be plus I want before each paragraph, or it could be minus I want before each paragraph. And to make these colours actually work, I need to put display block. That means it will actually come out as a square. It's a bit weird because the text isn't actually in there, but the way you can bypass that is just don't put any text in there at all. There. But you'll see that the L and O and the first letters haven't been styled because it thinks this is inside the paragraph. So whatever's in here is the first letter. So that's why if you're trying to use before and after, before and first letter, you have to make sure that it's not very easy to use first letter and before, so you have to use one of them. So if I don't want to use before, I can use after. It's exactly the same, but it's just after here. And I can now make it content and it should work better because it's no longer a first letter. Ooh, it's gone out a bit, but that doesn't really matter. So this is if you want to add a square underneath every single paragraph. What I like is having a line under each paragraph, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to change the width to 100%. And you should see there's a line under each paragraph. I can change this margin as well to make it larger, so it's easier to use. There. You'll see because the margin and the width is larger than the whole width, it makes this scroll bar down here, but that will be useful for the next thing we're doing. So, I'm adding a scroll bar. You need to use a WebKit prefix like this, and then write scroll bar. It has some quite confusing punctuation, so :/ WebKit - scroll bar. I'm using Google Chrome for this because Google Chrome works quite well with it. I can put a width of the scroll bar, which is this or this, of 5 pixels. There. Save, Control S, reload, Control R. You can't see it now because it's no longer the default scroll bar. So I need to actually add some color. And the way I do that is I do WebKit, scroll bar, track. The track is the whole line, and I can change background to make the color of the line. So say I want the background to be gold. You should now see gold lines for the scroll bars. For some reason that one's much larger, but I don't think it really matters. 10 pixels, or even 15 pixels. I like 15 pixel scroll bars. Yeah, that looks better. And to actually make the part you move, because at the moment you can't see it and it's invisible, you have to use WebKit scroll bar thumb. Remember the dashes. Bar thumb. And make sure you don't misspell. Background navy. There. And please like and subscribe as well. Thank you. The border radius, I'm also going to put for 7.5 pixels. If you look to my previous video, you'll see that the border radius makes rounded corners like this. So this is quite good for scroll bar. Scroll bar looks a bit large and blocky, but I like it. It works well with the colours. So, next, I'm going to add one more pseudo element. If I go here and I add unordered list here, and it's going to have 10 list elements which will each have 10 words of lorem ipsum there. Oh, lorem 1 I must have written. So a list of words. I can do exactly the same for an ordered list, which is just a numbered list. I can put OL list item times 10, lorem 1, there. So you'll now see I've got an unordered bullet pointed list and an ordered numbered list. But I'm going to change the colour of these markers. So I write marker here, which is the bullet point or the number, and I don't write anything before it, because that won't work with it. I have to put background colour, if I want, or I can just put colour, which is the right one, and I can put navy. It'll make all of these navy. I can try any colour I want, I can try gold even, but I'm going to stick with navy. There. So you can see that we've added lots of things that we haven't actually specified in here. So we haven't specified the scroll bars, we haven't specified the first letter as a separate element, haven't specified the first line as a separate element. The reason they come out differently is because we've used pseudo-elements. So that's the pseudo-elements. But it's not the end of pseudo. I'm going to add pseudo-classes. These are similar to pseudo-elements, but they're different because they are classes that the browser applies to elements at certain times. So with pseudo-elements, you'll see they're always permanent. They never change. But with pseudo-classes, they do. And that's when we start transitions. So, pseudo-classes and transitions. Good. So at the moment nothing's there yet. But I'm going to add a button. A button is just a normal HTML element. Nothing's going to happen when you click it. But I'm going to show you how to change colour when you hover over it. I'm going to name the button ID button 1. And I'm going to put some text on it saying hover over me, but don't click me as I will do nothing. Okay, so that slightly jokey button is there, and nothing's happening at the moment when you hover over it, unless, except the browser's making it go slightly darker. But what happens if I want something different to happen? Well, I'm going to have to go here and write some CSS code. Pseudo classes and transitions. There. So, hash button 1. That is the main button. I'm just going to make it look good. So, border 2 perk solid navy. Color navy. Background color gold. Not gold with an H. And there, so you've got the button there. But at the moment, nothing happens when I hover over it. So you have to make yet more CSS code, hash button 1. But this time, I put a colon, a single colon. Unlike the pseudo-elements where you have double colons, pseudo-classes have single colons. Now I can write hover. So that's when you hover over it, it will do this code rather than that code. So, border color, I'm going to change the color of the border to dark green. And change the color to dark green as well. And I'm also going to change the background color to lime there. So the button should turn green when I hover over it like this. You'll see it seems quite sudden, but we'll be changing that later when we go on to transitions. So I'm going to show you yet another HTML element. This time it's called input, and I'm going to add an attribute saying input type input image work please input type equals text, it says here. So I'm going to slash input if I want, but there's nothing inside, so this is a self-closing tag. There. In that text input, I'm going to name it id equals text1. So, hash text1. I'm going to add exactly what I added to button 1. So look just like normal button 1. So you'll see if I save and reload, this looks exactly like button 1. But this time nothing will change when I hover over it. But I want something to change when I click into it and start typing text. And that's called focusing. So I put hash text1 : focus. Focus just means when you're editing the text inside it. If I put this, which I do when you hover over that, you'll see there are two very similar elements. Hover over this, and it will turn green. I start typing in this, and it will turn green. If I click out, it will turn blue. So there are more inputs than just text, so I'm going to add a checkbox, a tick box. What happens if I want the tick box to change, the checkbox to change when I add a tick in it, but not when I don't? The way I do that is I do input type equals checkbox, I think. It should come up, yeah, with a tick box. At the moment, that's what happens. But what happens if I want to do something else? I'm going to have to give it an ID, so it's going to be ID equals check1 there, and I'm going to add this code. Check1, so exactly the same code as the text. So you'll see nothing's happening at the moment. And this focus needs to be checked to say when the arrow is ticked. But you'll see nothing's happened. It's because this box works normally. So I have to put appearance none, so it doesn't go like a normal checkbox. And I'm also going to put width 1em, height 1em. What this means is I'm sort of remaking the checkbox size and deleting the browser's default, because the browser's default didn't allow for those. Now you'll see it changes colour to green when it's ticked, and yellow and blue when it's not ticked. As this turns to green when you focus in it, and this turns to green when you hover over it. So we've been doing hover, focus, and checked. So, I'm going to add a link now. The link can be anywhere I want, or anywhere you want. I'm going to add it to, where am I going to add it to? Okay, webcoder 49.github.io. My portfolio of projects. There's nothing inside, it just says my portfolio. Look, that's the portfolio. There, all my projects. I'm going to make it. You see at the moment when I click on it, it turns red, and nothing happens when I hover over it. But you can change that with a link. I'm going to put a link. This is just a normal link. So I'm going to change the color of a normal link to navy and make it so there's no text decoration, so there's no underline. See, this is automatically just a normal link. Now I want it when I hover over it, a hover, to change the color to gold and add text decoration. So it's underlined, and then when it's actually active, when I'm clicking it, which at the moment turns red, or it did turn red, I want it to change the colour to lime green and text decoration underline again. So now you'll see if I've saved this and reloaded, all the links I have, which is only one, will change when I do different things to it. So you see blue, gold, green. And it takes me here. So you've got links that change colour, tick boxes that change colour, input text that change colour, and buttons that change colour when you hover over them. But what happens if you want the colour to change over a certain amount of time? See this, it just suddenly turns green. What happens if I want it to take half a second to turn green? Well, I go into the main code of the button, I put transition. Now I can put all of that I want the colour to change in half a second. Maybe the background colour I want to change a bit longer, so 3 seconds. So you'll now see that no colon. You'll see that they change at different times. So background colour takes 3 seconds to change, and the text takes 0.5 seconds to change. 1 second. I could even make the border colour take a while to change. So border colour should take 3 seconds. Save, reload. Maybe it needs border. There. And it doesn't understand 3SS. It's a problem with CSS. It's quite easy to make spelling mistakes. But you see it takes a while for the border colour to change. I can do this with all of them. So for the text input, I can make transition. I can make all of them by typing all. Take 0.5 seconds, half a second. Like that. With the checkbox, I can do exactly the same. But I can use milliseconds. Like this. Transition. Or 500 milliseconds. I can make the link when it changes colour, change it in transition. I want its colour to change in 200 milliseconds there. So you should see it takes a while to turn gold now, a lot longer, rather than just suddenly turning gold. So you see here, we started making it so the properties change colour and it goes through the series of colours from the yellow to the green. So what happens if we want these to do it forever? Not just when you hover over it or focus or click. We need to use something called animations. So I'm going to add another header saying animations. There. So I'm going to name these, delete these paragraphs here. They aren't really, actually they are needed. I'm going to add a div element. And this div element is going to be ID anim1. And it's going to be changing colour. So, at the moment, you'll see that nothing's happened. It doesn't even have the right colour. So, I'm going to add into the CSS code animations #anim1. Now, I'm going to add some default things, which is going to be a height of 100 pixels, width of 100 pixels, background color of red, and I'm going to also add color of white, that's text color. I'm also just going to leave it here and see what happened to it. There, so you've got this, but it's not changing color at the moment, and I want it to change color once. So, animation, name, changing color. Animation duration, I want it to take 3 seconds. And animation iteration count, I like that rhyme. Iteration count, I want it to do it once. Now you'll see I've added the animation, but it just doesn't understand what I mean. So it doesn't know where the animation is. So I have to put at keyframes. You can use some of these if you want to do it on other browsers and it doesn't work. Changing color. So 0% is at the start. I'm going to make its background color be red. Then at 50% or 25%, its background color is going to be lime green. At 50%, it's going to be background color blue. And at 75%, it's going to be pink. Background color pink. I have to just be careful because I spelled an N there. So you'll see now it will just change color. So I want to change the speed it does it. I can change the animation duration. For example, 5 seconds. I can make it take a very long time if I want to do it 100 seconds even. That'll take longer than a minute to do it. But you can see it starts changing color. Like that. To a brown, through to a green. So I'm going to keep it as 10 seconds. So it goes this quickly. But what happens if I want to make it go more than once? I just change the iteration count. 2. I want to do it twice. Red, lime, blue, pink. And it's doing it again. Red. I'm going to speed it up so you can see it. See. Red, lime, blue, pink. Red, lime, blue, pink. It's going through it twice. But what if I want to make it do it forever? I just have to change the iteration count to infinite. Like that. So I've got the changing color box. I can add some, and I'm next going to show you how to make the font size change as well. So the font size is the size of the text. 100% is the normal size, as I showed you earlier with the first line. But say I want the font size to go up to 120%. Then I want it to go down again. Font size 80%, and then I want it to go back to normal. 100%. That can be animated as well. I'm going to animate it into the changing color one. You'll see that the text changes size. And what I like about animations is they're really smooth. If you see it's not just sort of stepping between them, it's going up, down, normal. So that's what I like about animation. It just makes websites look so much more exciting. I mean, this changing color box is definitely the most exciting part of the page so far. So say I want to make another box, and I'm going to call it fading in. I'm just going to use some emmet anim2 there. Divide is anim2 fading in there. I can save and I can reload. There. So fading in is going to be another element. I can copy this code for anim2 fading in, but the keyframes is going to be very different. So anim2 background color red. Yeah, I'm going to keep it just like that. And I'm going to delete the changing color and change that fading in at keyframes fading in. So it recognizes that animation different, but I just need to edit the animation. So this is going to be quite a simple animation from 0% at the start. Opacity, it's one I've not taught you, but it's quite simple. Opacity of 0% is transparent, and opacity of 100% is opaque, or not see-through. And I can put opacity 100% at the end. So see, it just keeps fading in infinitely. But say I only want to do it once, I can change this animation iteration count to 1. So you'll see, change the color, fading in. Now I'm going to make one that uses transform to move. If you know what transform is, it's in the I put it in the previous video. If you don't know what it is, please look at that video so you know. So, moving is going to be the most exciting one, I think. And change that anim2 to anim3. It's going to be doing it infinitely. And I'm going to make it, rather than fading in, moving. So, and to make it look good, I'm just going to change the background color to blue. There. So you should see you've got moving. At the moment, nothing's happened to the moving one. It's just fading in like this. So I'm going to have to change the keyframes of moving. So, as I showed in the previous video, transform works like a graph, so you can put rotate and translate. Okay, so rotate 0 degrees and translate 0 degrees. That just keeps it in its original position at the start, like that. Say next I want it to move maybe 100 pixels right. I'm going to put that for 20% or no, 25%. Transform. I'm going to make it rotate that way, so it rotates clockwise 90 degrees. So rotate 90 degrees. And I'm also going to make it translate the x-axis by 100 pixels, so it moves that way 100 pixels. So x-axis 100 pixels. 0. I just realised something. There. Translate by degrees. So, if I save this and reload, I can change that to 10 seconds. So something weird seems to happen. It doesn't seem to be working. So I can go into the developer console here, which is really good if you're a web developer and you want to see what's happening. They got moving. It doesn't understand that. Oh, maybe I'm not meant to put a comma. That's probably what it is. I'll see if it understands it when I've done that. Yep, it works. So I'm going to change x-axis to 100 pixels. There. So at the moment it should just move like that. And at 50% maybe I want to make it rotate even more. So 180 degrees. Should translate by 200 pixels. Or maybe just 0 pixels and 100 pixels, so it actually stays on screen. There. Next, I'm going to make it 100 pixels. That will look good. Next, I'm going to make it so it rotates even further, like this, and then it will automatically just return to its starting position. So transform rotate, what's 180 plus 90? 270 there, 270 degrees. And I'm going to do the one combination we haven't done. So 0, 100 pixels. So you'll see now, it's moving like that, that. But it spins backwards. So at 100% you can make it transform. Okay, so the rotate can go all the way up to 360 degrees, which is the same as 0 degrees, but it means it doesn't go backwards. Translate. There. So now you've got the moving one, moving around, rotating, and translating. I like that. Wow, and that's the end of this tutorial. You've learnt how to add pseudo elements like this to paragraphs that just seem totally normal, including scroll bars, navy markers, first letters, first lines. You've learned pseudo classes and transitions to make elements change color when you do things to them like this. And you've learned animations, changing color, fading in, and moving. Wow, we've done a lot today, and this will become very useful when we're trying to make the website in the next video. Because changing color, fading in, moving, animations make websites exciting, pseudo class and transitions also make them exciting, and pseudo elements just make it much more customizable. So you can make a website which is much better for the client you're giving it to. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please like and subscribe. Goodbye.